All right then, hello. Welcome back to the Toffee Blues YouTube channel, source for all things Everton. Welcome back to the post-match reaction stream. It was the prettiest performance, was the most attractive performance we could have watched, but it's a massive 3 points on the board. So we'll wait for everyone to just join in the stream there, just so we can dive into all of the action, of course, because there's so many chances that we can really dissect from that game. So much to talk about. But just while we wait for everyone, Terry, thanks for joining me. How are you doing today?
Better now than I was in the middle of the match. Put it that way. I was not entertained but I am pleased. The result is always the most important thing, and put decent distance between us and Arsenal now, and shouldn't really be finishing any lower than 8th, and we're 3 points off 4th. So I'm not saying we're going to get there, but it's going to go right to the end, I think, as Carlo says.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, after the Spurs game, well, especially after the two back-to-back draws against Palace and Brighton, seemed like we were out of it, and all of a sudden, one of the strangest goals I think we'll ever see goes in, gives us a massive 3 points, first win at the Emirates, which is a ridiculous stat, which I can't quite even wrap my head around. I hadn't realised that we hadn't actually won there yet, but at the end of the day, it's a massive win, regardless of how we get the performance. As he said, the result's the most important thing. It's 3 points. We're on the road. It's absolutely delightful. So thank you everyone who's joined us so far. We could just dive straight into it. I mean, Terry, you mentioned there you weren't too impressed with the first half performance. So I mean, what was going wrong initially, and where were the problems lying?
We just had no agency and no pace, did we? Like, every time we'd get in a half decent position attacking wise, we'd slow it right down or have to turn round and look for the pass to the centre back or back into midfield. I think James had one of his worst games for us. Didn't really have much of an effect on the game, which is unlike him. He usually runs the whole game when he's playing. First half, It wasn't like we were awful. It was a good tactical sort of battle between the two teams. Like, they were sussing each other out, and they had certain things set up to counter us. Like, they were at Partey on James, and we were pushing up high. Not at first we weren't, but we started pushing up high as the half went on. Then in the second half, we sort of like reverted back to the play deep and hit on the counter style. And for long spells, it was all playing deep and it wasn't hitting on the counter because we couldn't get out of our half and the passing was poor. And then we just get an absolute gift, one of the smelliest goals you'll ever see. But you know what? The way I look at it is, there's that luck that we didn't have against Palace and Spurs. It came in for us tonight. We had about 50 chances against Palace and didn't score them. And we were a much better team against Spurs and lost the 2 mistakes. So the good luck had to start coming back in eventually, and we got it with that goal.
Yeah, exactly. An abundance of luck, really, just for that one goal. But I agree with the performance. I mean, we started with this kind of high press, but Arsenal were dealing with it quite comfortably. We know they're like a high possession game, and we weren't really causing them too many problems in the first half, despite the fact we did have the better of the chances. But I mean, that wasn't kind of through any. Well, we weren't really necessarily the better side. We were just having the better chances. I mean, Sigurdsson obviously hit the bar from that free kick. Richarlison had a decent shot, but could have stuck it more in the corner against Leno in the first half to maybe put us 1-0 up. But yeah, first half performance, there was some sort of press, didn't really work, and I think we needed more legs. I wanted Tom Davies. I was speaking to Paul in the pre-match stream. We both kind of agreed that a midfield, Gomez, Sigurdsson, and James Rodriguez was always going to be quite lethargic, quite slow. We know that they favour their technical game more, and I did want to see Davies alongside Allen. I think it worked well last time, but for whatever reason, Gomez came to the side straight away, and it's always going to contribute to a fairly lethargic, lack of urgency in the attack, because you just need those quicker players, bigger engines to drive us forwards. And yeah, I mean, first half wasn't brilliant. We managed to just about have the better chances, but I mean, that's a lot down to Arsenal and themselves. It's been the same case, it seems, for them all season. A lot of possession at home, a lot of the ball, not really creating too many chances. And I mean, until the end of the game, really, there wasn't any particularly significant work for John Pickford to do. But we'll absolutely get to that a bit later on. So for those for those just joining us right now, I mean, we've just gone through the first half really there. We don't want to dwell on the negatives too much because, of course, 3 points in a European fight is absolutely brilliant. A couple of comments there. Erwin Coleman, obviously big fan of the streams of the Coleman family. Hello, good evening to you. Calvin, he's here as well. Hello. Wormy Spoons there with a comment. We know how to scrape a horrible 1-0, don't we? Absolutely. I think that's maybe it's the kind of the defining point of Carlo Ancelotti's Everton career so far. So just before we get to the goal, I mean, let's talk about a couple of the substitutes so far in terms of scraping a horrible 1-0. Fabian Delph managed to kind of emerge back from the cracks. No one really knows where he came from. 2 minutes in, gets a yellow card. Before we get the goal, it came a bit later on. What did you make of the substitutions in general?
The only one of any interest was Delph, really, wasn't it? And he's atrocious, isn't he? He could he's got socks on out the lost and found. He can't kick a ball straight. He can't tackle. He's just useless. I don't know why he was brought on, but didn't ultimately do any harm this time. But the lesser spotted Fabian Delph, absolute waste of space, and probably won't see him again now. He'll be injured again tomorrow. You watch.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that yellow card is maybe done for the rest of the season. I was slightly alarmed having to tweet Andre Gomez as replaced by Fabian Delph. I genuinely shuddered when I was tweeting it in that match. It's not really a substitution that anyone really wants to see. It's kind of like for like, neither player having much impact on the game. But again, let's try and move away from the negatives. Calvin there, great win for the Blues, 1-0, 3 points. Absolutely, Calvin. I mean, it's 3 points at the Emirates as well. We've broken another curse under Carlo Ancelotti, and those dominoes just seem to keep falling. And I'm not really sure how many kind of those records we've now got left to break. I think we've had a remarkable season. We got that early away win against the Super League 6 earlier on against Spurs, and obviously we won at Anfield. Now to win at Emirates, it's absolutely brilliant. Evertonian Luke there. The games where we play well, we get nothing. Then games where terrible, we get something from. I think there's some merit in that. Definitely, I wouldn't say we were absolutely terrible purely because we still managed to create a few more chances than Arsenal at the end of the day, and we definitely played worse than that in games and kind of got what we deserved. But Mason Holgate said in his post-match press conference as well that it was there have been times where we have put in better performances, we haven't quite come out with a result. But at the end of the day, as I mentioned, it's 3 points. It's brilliant to see, and a man we definitely want to speak about there, Erwin Coleman, John Pickford. I mean, didn't have a lot to do all game, as I mentioned. He's kind of come up. I saw someone tweet something. He looks like the kid from The Incredibles with that new hairstyle that he's rocking. But, whatever works for him, he's pulled off an absolute wonder save against Martinelli at the end. So what did you make of John Pickford's performance then, Terry?
Good performance. Did what he needed to do. Didn't make any mistakes and was big at the end. And to be honest, earned us the 2 extra points. Because Coleman clearly got an injury at the end, and Martinelli got the better of him, and Coleman Pickford was down quick to make the save, and then obviously there was the save after the whistle had gone, but he doesn't know, he can't just let that go in. The save after Leno fouled someone in the box, so he's made big saves when he's had to, and he's looked after the ball and been just an all-round good game. Can't pick a single fault in this game. Very good performance, John Pickford.
Yeah, absolutely did absolutely nothing wrong from start to finish. And I mean, there are games like that. I mean, we saw on the opposite side that keepers can maybe have a lapse in concentration when they're on too many chances. There's not too much going on. But for Pickford not to do a lot, then pull off a save like that at the end, it's absolutely brilliant. And I mean, maybe a more mature performance than we've seen from Pickford in the past. We've seen him make errors, maybe like Leno made, and for once, it's quite enjoyable to actually be on the receiving end of one of them instead of having to watch it go in against you. And yeah, absolutely brilliant. I completely agree with everything you said there. For those joining us, massive 3 points tonight at the Emirates against Arsenal, pushing up the table, which we'll absolutely get to. But we've spoken about Delph, sadly, just very briefly there. We didn't want to mention him too much in a couple of the substitutions. However, let's just get to that goal then. It's one of the strangest goals we'll probably see all season. But I mean, it's absolutely massive, isn't it, Terry? So what did he make of that?
Just bizarre, really bizarre. Like I say again, I don't think you'll likely see a more smelly goal than that scored all season. Like he's turned him because let's be honest, Xhaka at left back's just like a shed, isn't he? He's got no mobility. He's standing him up, and Richarlison basically just tries to put it into the danger area, like sort of towards DCL, but I don't think DCL would have been able to make much of it. He just sort of fires it low and hard, and then it just sort of hits Leno on the inside of his calf and rolls in the net. And it's such a lucky break. Like, I don't know how I'd be going nuts if Pickford had done that in a game like that. But it just comes off. He obviously he's not trying to score. He just tries to fire it into the 6-yard box and have it ricochet, and more or less that's what's happened, isn't it? It's just not in the manner that he would have expected. So a smelly goal.
Yeah, absolutely. But it was absolutely necessary in the end. Really strange one, I agree. I mean, Calvert-Lewin probably would have struggled to do much with that as well, because it was very close to the keeper, and well, obviously wasn't even a shot on target. Ends up given as a Bernd Leno own goal. But it seems like we haven't really ever got many of them this season. It feels like we've struggled with a bit of luck, and we get it in a game that probably matters more than most. And for those of you that watch the channel, myself and Terry, we've been doing the previews for a few weeks now, and we've been going on about how these games are must win every single time, and we haven't been winning them. But finally, it's a poor performance overall, but it's a massive 3 points on the road. So a couple of comments there. Diego Crespo saying tonight Pickford's hairstyle gave us good luck. Oh yeah, mentioned that hairstyle before. It's an interesting one that he's brought out, and it's not particularly traditionally Mackem. Obviously, I can speak from some slight experience there, and a bit of a weird one that he has brought out. But if that does bring us the luck, that is absolutely brilliant. Wormy spoons there. Leno just throws it into his own net. Absolutely very, very strange decision from the keeper. Not really sure what he was trying there. However, at the end of the day,
I'm thoroughly looking forward to seeing the Arsenal Fan TV reaction to that goal.
Oh, absolutely. I haven't quite picked it up on Twitter yet, but I'd imagine it's already floating around somewhere. And obviously this was, especially considering the week that everyone's had, and how the fact that, we were getting plenty of shouts that if we'd been invited to the Super League, we would have joined. Very strange shout indeed, but a club of integrity. We've turned up at the Emirates. We've picked up the 3 points that we needed. Just a bit of an earlier comment there. Wormy Spoons, Pickford man of the match, good saves at the end. So Terry, I mean, he's given Pickford man of the match. Would you agree, or would you give it to someone else?
Yeah, I'd agree. Couldn't argue with that. I'd say Pickford man of the match myself as well. I think it did go to Richarlison, but I'd give it to Pickford personally.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a shout for Richarlison. Obviously, he worked hard all day, with Dominic Calvert-Lewin kind of struggling to make much of an impact on the game as well. And I think there is probably just a toss-up between John Pickford and Richarlison. Obviously, Richarlison gets the goal, so that's probably why Alan Smith's given it to him, because we all know that commentary wasn't exactly brilliant this evening. But yeah, I'd probably agree that Pickford was kind of the most important in the end, pulling off that save at the end when, he could have lapsed in concentration, but he absolutely didn't. And Erwin Koeman there, Alan will go unnoticed a lot today, and Richarlison's work rate. So what did you make of Alan then? Because I mentioned just before that I wanted to see Tom Davies alongside him purely to get more legs in the midfield, and Alan was kind of tasked with being the only engine in the midfield. So what did you make of this performance?
Yeah, I thought it was a good game. He would have been my second choice for man of the match, Alan. Very important player. He obviously has a few ups and downs, because he struggles a little bit when the players around him are just, he's got to do the defending for everyone. Like, he's really good with Decore, because he gets a lot of support from Decore. But when you've got Andre Gomez and Sigurdsson, who have got their own strengths, but neither of their strengths are like defending or like winning midfield battles. So Alan sometimes suffers a little bit, but he did a really good job on Smith Rowe tonight. Smith Rowe's their most influential player, even when everyone's fit. He apart from possibly Odegaard, but Smith Rowe's a quality player, and he didn't have much bearing on the game tonight at all, because Alan did a really good job of putting him in his pocket.
Yeah, absolutely. I was really impressed with him again, and I was slightly concerned that when Alan did come back from injury, maybe he didn't look as sharp as looked maybe slightly off the pace. But in the past few games, he's really kicked into gear, and he's going to be massive for us going forwards, especially with the injury to Decore, who we know is probably going to be out for the rest of the season. And if Davies isn't going to play every game, whether that's a fitness issue or something else, then it's absolutely brilliant. A couple of others agreeing there about John Pickford, another man the match shout for him, and Damien Hagan there. I prefer not to see Delphin and Everton shirt ever again. He offers nothing. Yeah, I think me and Terry absolutely agree with you there, but we don't want to dwell on that for too long, whether that was a very strange decision to bring him on or not. Well, regardless, greetings from Finland there. So, thank you to everyone's joined us now. So if you just joined the stream now, discussed a couple of the players so far, discussed how much of a fluky goal Richarlison managed to pick up, and how much of a significant match John Pickford did have. And of course, something we're going to have to speak about, which maybe hasn't come up too often in the past few games as you'd expect, it is VAR. For their penalty shout, obviously, didn't look like a penalty at all. VAR gives it, then all of a sudden they call it back for offside, and John's just dropped a quote from Mikel Arteta for us there in the chat. To disallow a goal 15 seconds before 8 or 9 touches, I saw it 10 times. I cannot see it. You can draw the line 10 times. Another strange one for VAR, Terry. So what did you make of their penalty shout that they get given, and then it's disallowed for an offside, which didn't even look like an offside?
Well, cry more, Mikel. Yeah, he's onside. Couldn't be. He ruled offside, but it isn't a penalty. Contact doesn't equal foul. A slight nick, even if it is contact, which is debatable. I don't think it is, but obviously you never know. That is not an impeding. It's not impeding contact. It's no more. You get more contact if you're running alongside someone trying to tackle them. Like if you haven't even there's no way on earth that's a penalty. So the VAR has spared its own blushes. Well, sort of hasn't, because it got the offside wrong. But yeah, VAR gets the offside call wrong, and John Moss gets the penalty decision wrong. So there's 2 wrong decisions in the space of like a minute from the 2 sets of officials. Got the best league in the world with the worst officials by far. It's just stupid. He was onside, but it isn't a penalty, and they gave both the wrong way.
Yeah, absolutely. Really bizarre decision, and I can't see. I mean, it's embarrassing the Ceballos has gone down like that, but I guess if he knows, considering the standard of officiating, if he thinks he can go down and win a penalty, I don't necessarily blame him for that. It comes down to the officials at the end of the day, and it comes down to VAR. And if he thinks he can win a pen for that,
he said did Arteta say disallow a goal? They hadn't scored a goal. Pickford could have saved it.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's what John's just said in the chat. That obviously Arteta is absolutely ignoring that Pickford could actually just save the penalty. It's absolutely bizarre as well. We weren't talking about disallowing a goal. It was absolutely disallowing a penalty. So very strange one indeed. But I don't get the offside decision either. I can't really comprehend what happened for that one. But it's a bit of justice in the end, because it didn't look like a penalty at all. And people sometimes make the clear and obvious shout that it wasn't a clear and obvious error, but then at the end of the day, it's not being implemented. That statement hasn't been implemented all season or last season, so I'm not particularly sure why you'd bring it up now. So yeah, very strange decisions all along, but it wasn't a penalty. It probably wasn't offside, so it's very strange. But at the end of the day, can't really see why Arteta's complaining too much, because a penalty is not a guaranteed goal at the end of the day. Interesting comment there. I believe this Everton side can get us to 6th place. I mean, we may as well talk about it now. We've been a bit despondent in the past few weeks at our European dreams slipping away, but we can just take a quick look at the table now as I bring it up here. We'll start with Chelsea in 4th on 55 points, same amount of games played. West Ham in 5th on 55 points. Tottenham in 6th, 1 more game played on 53 points. Liverpool in 7th now. We're just 1 point behind them. They're on 53. We're just behind on 52. So, I mean, it's the elephant in the room, Terry. What do you make of our European chances now?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. It's crazy this season, isn't it? It's just like, I thought after the Spurs game, and I'm not usually one to be reactionary, but I thought season was over after the Spurs result. I was like, when we're done, I was genuinely thought we're running out of games. We're not gonna do it. But then this game, we're 3 points off 4th again somehow. Now, we could get 4th. We could finish 8th. It's so up and down. It depends on other teams as well. I think 4th and 5th are locked down. I think Chelsea and Liverpool will be some version of 4th and 5th, because they've got better squads and they've got more experience in those squads. Like, if we had everyone fit, I know we had a lot of them fit tonight, but we're still missing to Corey, he's huge. Didn't have Michael Keane. If we had everyone fit, then I'd say, well, we could do it, but we can't afford to miss that 1 or 2 players. Liverpool and Chelsea probably can, and still, we might not be able to win the league missing a few players, but they can certainly finish 4th and 5th. 6th now, Tottenham.
They're 1 point ahead, but we have the game in hand, obviously, against Villa.
we could finish above Tottenham. The crap. I know. I don't know whether they're going to change with the new manager bounce. It might work. It doesn't always work out that way, but that depends a lot on Tottenham, and then there's West Ham. Don't forget West Ham. I don't know. It just depends on the other teams. They've got. It depends what fixtures they've got, what crazy results they get. It's going to go to the last game. I think now the top 8 is the top 8 that you can see in some order, but God knows what it is. I just think 4th and 5th will be Chelsea and Liverpool, and outside of that, it's anyone's.
Yeah, it seems like a very strange one. I can't really sit and make predictions about necessarily where we're going to finish. I think we can guarantee there's going to be more weird results for the final kind of 6 or 7 games there are left now, because we've seen that all season, and I think we can absolutely guarantee it's going to continue. And I agree with the squad depth. I think it would be tricky to really push into the top 4 because we've had injuries so far. It seems like we're getting a bit of a team back, touch wood, but if we do start losing players again, which we absolutely might do, there's still a fair few games left. I mean, we probably can't push that far, and Chelsea and Liverpool do have better squads. So Tom Wilson there, are we ready for top 4? We don't have the squad depth, and I kind of agree with that question. It would be a great achievement to do so, but I mean, obviously you obviously want Champions League football, but at the end of the day, if we end up in the Champions League next season and we have another kind of Ronald Koeman European season that we slip down the table and we don't have the squad depth to compete with it, it will be a shambles. But I think that's probably, as Terry said, I think we're looking too far there. I think top 4 is maybe just out of our reach now, purely off the squad depth, and also we haven't put ourselves in a brilliant position. But if we do take a quick look at the fixture list, obviously Villa comes up next on the 1st. We have to play them twice, but obviously the other game hasn't been rescheduled yet. Away to West Ham, that's going to be an absolutely massive game. Home matches against Sheffield United and against Wolves, and then away to Manchester City. So when you hear the fixture list, it maybe fills you with a slight bit of optimism, knowing that it could slightly be in our hands. Our away form is better, so we do have to go to the London Stadium and get a good result against West Ham. But as I mentioned, we do know that our home form has been slightly weaker this season, but I'd much prefer to play them away than at home for absolutely no reason. We should be beating Sheffield United, we should be beating Wolves, but we should not be leaving it to the last day to try and beat Manchester City to try and get any sort of European football. So I know we've spoken about it before, Terry, me and you, on the previews, but off the back of this win now, what do you make of the fixtures that we have left? They're actually quite significant and almost put it in our hands slightly.
Yeah, it's definitely in our hands because we've got the game in hand, but you can't even predict. We've lost to Fulham, but we beat Liverpool. Like, it just makes no sense this season. Like, every game's 50-50. You look at them and go, they're going to be difficult. The only one you're pretty confident on will be Man City because they're the only team who are romping it this season. Everyone else, Chelsea have lost to West Brom, like 5 goals past them, and we've been up and down badly. I know it's like a cop-out, but I honestly don't know. Like, you could go in, if you said to me, Everton will win, how many games are left? 7. You say Everton will win 5 of them. You say Everton will win 5 of them, I wouldn't be shocked. But if you'd also said Everton are going to lose 5, I'd be like, bloody hell. I also wouldn't be shocked, but in a different way, just because it's just the way this season is at the minute. You just don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, well, that's the thing as well that Carlo said from the last 7 games. He wanted 5 wins. I mean, this is one of them. It's an absolutely a step in the right direction. Lawrence there in the chat, honestly, be happy with 7th in the Conference League. I think, we've spoken at length about the different kinds of Europe, and I think my opinion slightly differs to Terry. That obviously Terry, I do want European football, of course. I prefer it to be the Europa League, but I don't really know too much about the Conference League. There's not actually much spoken about it, so I think that'll be interesting. But we won't go into that too much because I think we've definitely spoken about that one before. And yeah, a comment there. We were just talking about the fixtures. Everton have to play Villa and West Ham. True. We have the game in hand. We have that game against West Ham, who are obviously currently 3 points above us. And someone in the comments there, lads, we're going to get a place. We love you, Everton. We do. Ancelotti, we believe in you. That's a lot of positivity there, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of that going around tonight after not the best performance, but we win nonetheless. So if you are just joining us, be sure to drop us a comment down below in the comments. We'll read as many as we can. We'll talk about what you might bring up, ask us any questions, and we will try and get to them. And we've got apparently Opta Joe's joined us in the chat as well. Everton are the only team to win away at all of Liverpool, Tottenham and Arsenal in the Premier League this season, as well as conceded no goals along the way. So Terry, how massive is that to really push us on for the rest of the season?
I know it's incredible considering these are the most elite teams in Europe. Apparently, the teams that are in 9th, 7th, and whatever the other Tottenham 6th.
It's just a bit of a mush, isn't it? There's just too many teams on the same points.
They're not even in the 4 best teams in the country, but they're in the 15 or 12 best teams in Europe, apparently. Just makes a mockery of that. The fact that Arsenal and Tottenham were involved in that just makes a mockery of it. It was just a commercial league. Like, these generate the most commercial, interest globally out of the European teams. I mean, Christ knows why Tottenham do. They've never, they don't do anything. They never win anything. They're just us with better PR, and less titles. Tottenham are just Everton with better PR and less titles. But yeah, that's half of our points have come from these elite teams this season. That shows you how elite they are. Just need to start beating the absolute, dross now. Like, everyone's going to hate you in the league, but if we don't beat Sheffield United at home when they're already down, it'll never happen. I swear to God, we need to beat them. We can't be winning away at these European Super League teams, but not beating teams like Wolves at home and Villa at home. As much as I think Villa are a good team, they've gone badly off the boil of late. If you're going to finish in Europe, you need to be winning these games.
Yeah, true. There's plenty of chat about that as well, John. Imagine if we beat the rubbish teams at home, absolutely, we'd be flying at this point. But I guess it's been the same for every team, that everyone seems to be having this brilliant away form, struggling at home, but we absolutely should have picked up more wins at home. A couple of comments there. Philip Mason there saying hello. Good evening, Philip. Hope you enjoyed that result. Tom Wilson there with a question. Would you accept 8th this season as a sign of progress? I'd personally say no, purely because Europe was in our hands for a very long time. We've dropped out of it on a poor run of form, and I'm sure Terry will agree with me here that it is progress nonetheless, but it's not something we really want to accept. We want to get European football next season, and Terry, I'd imagine you do agree with that. Is that absolutely the aim, and would you really see it as a sign of progress?
We've already progressed in a way because we're 3 points up on last season's total, so there's progress. And we've won away at Liverpool, won away at Tottenham, won away at Arsenal. We've progressed. We want to progress more. Technically, yes. His answer is have we progressed? We have, but not by enough yet. Like, there's 7 games left and we're 3 points off 4th. We need to. We've got the players. We've got the manager. We need to get back. You bring European football back to Goodison Park. I'm not finishing behind Tottenham with Ryan Mason as manager. I'm not finishing. You know what I mean? Like, as good as they've been, I don't want to finish. I mean, we might do, but I don't want to finish behind West Ham. I want to finish in the European positions. If it's the Conference League, so be it. But the Europa League is right there. The Champions League's right there. Just go for it. Like, turn up to games. Remember, even under Marco Silva, when we beat United at home, and I think who was it? I think it was Chelsea at home as well, and Arsenal and a draw with Liverpool and a little run. Put a run like that together, and then you're in Europe. Turn up for these games. No, we've progressed, but no, 8th is not enough progression.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, and we don't need 8th as a sign of progress. We know we've absolutely made progress, as you mentioned. We're 3 points up on where we were last season at the end of the season. So I think European football is a must now, and we've put ourselves in a much better chance after this evening, after getting that result, because all of a sudden Arsenal were creeping up on us if they'd won this game. I mean, despite the game in hand, they were going above us on goal difference, which probably would have been embarrassing, but we can put that to the side. We've done the double over Arsenal for the first time in a very long time, and it's a massive win for the season. Eugene McGee there saying these games are a must-win for Everton this season. Absolutely. We need to really, as Terry mentioned, we need to go on a good run of form now. We did it under Marco Silva. And for those of you just joined us now, just over 40 viewers, thank you very much for tuning in. Be sure to get your comments down below. We've been streaming for just under half an hour now. Probably go for another 10 or 15 minutes. And then, we'll send you all off for a very enjoyable weekend. It's a blessing and a curse playing on a Friday night. It could ruin everything, but it could make everything absolutely brilliant. So we can all relax now. This win's out the way, and hopefully we can just enjoy the weather, get yourselves out, and we'll be back next week for more streams. Absolutely. So, couple of other comments here that a lot of people talk about Fabian Delph as well. We are trying to move past Fabian Delph. We don't want to spend too much time on him. He came on with the wrong socks on, got a yellow card after 2 minutes, came out absolutely nowhere. But, that doesn't matter. That's in the past now. Absolutely. And Jack Madison there saying, I'd like to think we will get top 8 now. Top 7 is the target for me to get Europa as long as City win the League Cup. That's very true. I'm hoping they will. I think they will, because Ryan Mason, as much as he did nick that win against Spurs in the end, he's not a top manager. They have to come up against City in the Carabao Cup final, and I think that'll finally push the European football down. So hopefully, as Jack said there, I think we'll definitely get top 8, but top 7 has to be the target, at least minimum. I'd want to see top 6, but John there in the chat, I've just lost his comment. I tried to bring it up. Remember when a few people on Twitter were actually comparing Silva and Ancelotti? I prefer not to remember that, to be honest, John. I remember those very brief moments a couple of weeks ago in those draws against Palace and Brighton, but I definitely think that's something we've definitely moved past now. And obviously, we did go quite defensive in the end, bringing on Yerry Mina for the last kind of 5 minutes. It was an absolute Carlo masterclass in the end, if you'd like to call it that. Couple of other comments there. What did you make of Rodriguez on the pitch today? I know, Terry, you mentioned just a bit earlier in the stream that maybe you weren't impressed by his performance. So what did you make of him today?
No, he was one of his weaker performances for us. He had a lot of the ball, but he didn't really make a positive impact on the game. He's still by far and away our most talented player. But he lost the ball quite a lot, and they seem to. It's not surprising, but a lot of teams now are setting up in a way of just to counter them. We do it to other teams when we quite a lot. You'll see Sigurdsson sit on like a Jorginho type player, and they're doing the same thing. They've got made sure that he's surrounded and he's got no time on the ball. And frankly, it wasn't as much of a thing this game, but in the previous games, they just foul him. And if you're playing a team with a player like that in them, I wouldn't quibble if we did it. If we had Alan running around and giving a dog's life to a top player on the other team, then I wouldn't complain one bit. So I can't complain as long as it's not naughty and could injure them. If they're gonna rough up Hammers, you've got to expect it. It's just part and parcel of the game.
Yeah, and a couple of comments there. Apparently Arteta's absolutely lost it on Sky Sports. I haven't quite seen his reaction because I think we were streaming when he did come on. But, I mean, cry more, Mikel. I don't think you're going to get any sympathy from anyone in the stream here. I can't really see why he had a breakdown. He didn't create any chances at the end of the day. We weren't brilliant, but we created some, more clear-cut chances than they did. And I can't really see what he's got to complain about. Philip there complaining, Arteta's going mental. Kieran there, good evening, great win today, lads. It absolutely was. Pretty poor performance, but you absolutely take them. I mean, it had the whole combination. It had the poor performance, the poor goal, Richarlison dancing in the Emirates. It's absolutely what you want to see. Dave there, fair play to you. Love to see you guys in Europe. More games, so need more backup. Yeah, very true. We are going to need more squad depth. We've addressed that a bit earlier in the stream. For those just joining us, and a couple of questions now. We are going to round off the stream in about 5 minutes, so I'll get to the ones that I can see, and then we'll let you all go for your weekends. Should Gylfi play again? Personally, he has an impact, but he gets caught in possession almost as easily as Allardyce to pork pie. Terry, what do you make of that comment?
He's turned the corner for me this season, Sigurdsson. On the strength of his whole time at Everton, I thought he was great in his first season. Thought he was very important in his second season under Silva. Last season, when he was under Silva and Ancelotti combined, despised him. Would have given him away. Couldn't stand him. He was just useless. But this season, he's not come back as conquering hero. He's suddenly a top player, but he's now settled into a role in the squad where he can be useful. Is he perfect? No, but does he affect the game? Yeah. You've seen this year, the strength of this season, he's been a good player to have when used properly. You want to put him in a 4-4-2 in deep midfield, he'll be crap. It won't work. But if you want to put him in a number 10 position to sit on an opposition number 6 or, to press the ball, he's got a use. So I've softened a lot on Sigurdsson now. He's off me off my kill list. But I think there's a new contract, a short-term deal. I'm not saying start him every game, but if he's going to share that number 10 role across the season with with James, I think that'd be smart. I think he's got a little bit of his mojo back, but you've got to appreciate his weaknesses. His legs have completely gone, but his brain hasn't.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tom Wilson there in the chat really don't understand the Sigurdsson hate lately. Him and James linked up well against Spurs, and he says definitely started with the squad we have right now. I think the club will probably renew his contract. Obviously, it's coming to an end, and there's been a lot of debate about that. But you can see why they'd renew it. We can't really afford to lose any more depth that we already kind of don't have. So I think the club will renew his contract, and I wouldn't mind that too much as long as he's not too prominent in the years going forwards. Quick one there from Erwin Coleman. Thoughts on Holgate? Well, for me, he's definitely improved. It wasn't quite the world-beating performance that maybe some people wanted, especially Paul McAllister in the earlier stream. He wanted to see a much better performance from Mason Holgate. It was improved absolutely. And Terry, what did you make of Holgate?
It's okay. He don't like that centre-back partnership. I think it's too small. I think get away with it because it was in Nketiah. If you got a sly ass centre forward, you got an experienced Premier League centre forward. If that centre half partnership come up against Danny Ings, it'd get murdered. But it got away with it because it was in Nketiah, who's only young and small himself. Holgate had an up and down season, and it goes for Michael Keane. Michael Keane was romping it at the beginning of the season and has had a bad few games. And Holgate's the same. He's had spells where he's been good, especially when he was at right back when he was sitting deep. He was really good then against Liverpool and the like. But he's had other games where he's not been as good. These are young players. They're on long contracts. It's time you've got to back them. You've got to get behind them, and they'll hope they come through it and learn. You can't just get angry and say they've got to go if they don't perform or they have a bad game. These are the players we're going to build around. I am pro Mason Holgate. He's not been as good this season as he was last season, but he'll learn. More games he plays, the better he'll get. It's just about helping him develop on his weaknesses and accentuating his strengths. And he's an aggressive player, and that sometimes works against him because he can make mistakes, but it hasn't cost him tonight. And I'm happy for it, but he's going to learn. Jamie Carragher was the same. Jamie Carragher didn't become a top centre back until he was older than Mason Holgate is. Some players take time to develop their skill set, and I think he's going to be another one like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with everything you said there. And those of you just joined us, thank you very much for coming in. We're just kind of answering our final few questions of the stream now. Before we head to the weekend, it seems like Philip Mason's already ready. Great weekend inbound, lads. Absolutely get yourself to a beer garden. The weather's delightful. Everton have got 3 points. I mean, very good vibes in this stream at the moment. We're trying to not be too negative. We got the Delph chat out of the way. We got the poor first half out of the way. And we want to get rid of that. And a couple of questions there. I mean, yes, Philip Mason mentioning great free kick from Sigurdsson hitting the bar. True, it was a good effort. But, we had more clear-cut chances than Arsenal, so I can't really see what Arteta's arguing about. We saw that in the comments, but I haven't actually seen any of the quotes of anything he actually said, so I can't confirm, but I can imagine he was probably having a meltdown. Something about creating chances, but, it doesn't really matter. But I think that basically just brings us to the end of the stream, so thank you all very much for watching. Thank you all for tuning in. Terry, thank you very much for joining me on your Friday night here. It's almost 11 o'clock, so, we're going to send you all the way. Just under 40 minutes streaming there. Poor performance, poor goal, 3 points. We're back on the march for Europe. It's absolutely delightful. Everyone, go ahead, enjoy your weekend, and we'll catch you on the next one. So thank you all very much for joining. Join us next time on the Toffee Blues.